Welcome to AI Unpacked. No jargon, just intelligence, unpacked. I'm Nika, and I build AI systems, and I've spent over a decade deciding which ones are worth building. As of this week, when Claude writes something, it signs it. Not visibly, of course. You won't see it, you can't feel it in the prose, and it won't change what you actually read. But woven into the actual text itself is a machine readable signal that says, this passed through Claude. Oh, and it travels. Whether you copy it and paste it anywhere else, it comes along with you. 2 days ago, I was going to make a video arguing this exact problem, marking AI content in a way machines can actually detect. This was the hard and unglamorous half of the new EU rules that everyone has ignored in favor of the easy half. Then Anthropic shipped it 4 months before they had to, according to the EU. So let's talk about what actually landed, and then let's talk about the way it's going to be misused, which starts roughly now. This is the practitioner's read. 3 things. What shipped? Why is it genuinely a good piece of engineering? And the part that worries me most, which is not the technology. What actually shipped? Anthropic signed the EU's AI Act Article 50, Paragraph 2, Code of Practice of Transparency of AI Generated Content, and confirmed the implementation on a support page updated this week. There are 2 mechanisms. They're different, and the difference matters. 1. Embedded watermarks in text. When a supported Claude model generates text, an imperceptible signal is woven into the text itself, not the metadata attached to it, actually in it. It doesn't change meaning, quality, or readability. It survives the copy-paste, and Anthropic says it, quote, may persist through some editing, end quote. Critically, it's applied to the model level, not at the app level. So it doesn't matter which surface the text came from, whether it be the API, the Claude app, Claude code, cowork, tag, or some other mark. 2. Signed provenance metadata on the files. Generated files. This includes .svg files, .png files, .jpeg files. Get metadata following C2PA, the open provenance standard used across the industry. It signals that the file was processed by Claude and lets you detect whether it's been tampered with. Scope, because this surprised me. It's worldwide, not just the EU, although it's in accordance with the EU's AI Act. Wherever Claude is offered, also through AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Foundry, though provenance metadata may not be supported on every platform. Models released before August 2nd are in this transition period. Anthropic says is working to support to add marking to those too. And honestly, they're not alone. Black Forest Labs, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, Synthesia, basically all the big names, all have committed to the same code. This is a new industry standard moving together because regulators made them, which is worth naming plainly. Why is this good engineering? I want to give real credit here because the design solves a problem I've watched people honestly defeat. The obvious way to mark AI content is metadata. Attach a label to the file saying generated by X. And metadata, it's fragile. Screenshot it, gone. Resave it, it's in a different format, gone. Paste it into a doc and export it into a PDF, gone. Every hop through a real content pipeline is a chance for the label to fall off. And content, as you know, takes a lot of hops. Putting the watermark in the text is a different bet. And honestly, a better one. There's no label to ship, as in metadata. The signal is the thing itself. That's why it survives copy paste. Copy paste is exactly the operation that kills metadata, right? Doing that at the model level rather than at the product level is also the right call. Anything applied at the app level has a hole in it in the moment someone hits the API directly. Doing it at the model level rather than at the product level also is the right call. Anything applied at the app layer has a hole in it the moment someone hits the API directly. But also, TechCrunch noted that it pushed and it didn't get a real answer. Nobody is saying how much editing it's going to take to remove the watermark. Anthropic's language, again, said, quote, may persist through some editing. And that's it. Now, the cynical read is that they're being evasive. I don't think that's it, though. I think they may not honestly be able to answer that question yet. And here's why. A precise threshold is an instruction manual. The moment you push, the mark survives up to about 30% paraphrase. You've told everyone exactly how much to paraphrase. This is the same reason spam filters don't publish their scoring, which is a legitimate engineering position. It's also a real problem for anyone who wants to rely on this thing because you can't really calibrate your trust in a signal whose reliability nobody will quantify. But hold that thought. Now, this is the part that worries me. Here's what almost every take of the story is going to get wrong. People are going to try and treat this as a detector, for lack of a better term, as in run the text, get an answer, know whether a student cheated, whether a job applicant wrote their own cover letter, whether a freelancer actually did the work. It's not that. And I'm not giving my editorial point of view here. Anthropic says so directly. Let me read you their own limitations because they're more honest than the coverage may suggest. First, a detected mark means content may have been processed by Claude. It is explicitly, quote, not fully conclusive, end quote. And then the reason, which is to be essentially the whole ball game, Claude may not be the original author. People use Claude to proofread, to translate, to summarize, to convert files, and the output carries that mark even when the ideas, the text, and the data actually came from a human. Let's sit with that. A person writes something entirely themselves, runs it through Claude to fix their grammar, and the result carries the same mark as the text that was generated from scratch. Now think about who does this the most. We have non-native English speakers, people with dyslexia, anyone who's ever been told their writing sounds unprofessional and didn't have someone to ask. The people who most likely run their own genuine work through a language tool, and people most likely to get flagged by any treating this as proof of authorship. We have watched this movie before, right? Before the AI writing detectors, and it ended with real students being accused of things they didn't do. And it fails in the other direction as well. Anthropic lists absence of mark doesn't mean content wasn't generated. Not if it came from an older model, not if it's been heavily edited, paraphrased, or translated. Not if the passage is short. Too little text is a reliable signal, right? Not if a file's metadata got stripped by a screenshot or a format conversion. So, in essence, presence isn't proof, and absence isn't proof either. That's an asymmetric tool. Its meaning is aggregate and weak in individual cases, and it's going to be used immediately and confidently in exactly the individual cases that can't support by a teacher, a hiring manager, an editor, or someone's boss. The technology itself is fine. The failure mode is people wanting a certainty it never claimed to offer, which raises a fair question. If it can't tell you who wrote a specific thing, who is it good for? Scale. That's the answer. At platform scale, a signal that's roughly 80% reliable is enormously useful for filtering, for ranking, for labeling a feed, for a search engine deciding how to weigh a page. It doesn't have to be right about every single document to be right about 1 million of them. And that's clearly the direction. Suno started watermarking tracks last week amid legal challenges. Substack partnered with detection service last month. Their CEO has been using the word Claude phishing for people passing AI writing off as their own. The real pressure here, not regulators, they're the deadline, obviously. The pressure is platforms drowning in generated content and losing the ability to tell their users what they're looking at. Provenance infrastructure is being built for systems, not for arguments between two people about who wrote what in what paragraph. If we remember that, this is good. If we forget it, well, we're about to hand a lot of institutions a tool that they'll misread with total confidence. So, do I think this is good? Yes, mostly. It's real engineering, it addresses a genuine problem, and it arrived early, which almost never happens. But do I think it will be used well? Not initially. The gap between what it measures and what people want it to mean is wide enough that somebody's going to get hurt in it. That's the unfortunate part. And it'll probably be someone who ran their own writing through for something as simple as a grammar check. The question I want to have answered in the comments: would you want a tool that told you whether something you're reading came from AI, knowing that it can't tell you whether a human wrote the ideas? I honestly go back and forth on this because In some instances, I would like to know if something's written by AI, but at the same time, I want to make sure that, the tool is accurate and not accurate for, say, parts per million. But I think in the long run, this tool has a chance to be misused, misinterpreted, and causing a lot of, frankly, issues as it relates to the validity, the reliability of what people are generating. And that's truly the sticking point. So if Claude is going to push this 4 months early, my question is, why not wait until the deadline to ensure, add those extra guardrails and precautions to ensure that the tool that they are dropping is not going to cause more harm than good. So if you like this content, definitely subscribe to get a practitioner's read on, things like this in the AI space, because I know it can be quite daunting. And for me, you're not just going to get a hot take. You're going to get thoughtful, honest conversation and facts about where we're headed in the AI race. Next week on the Corporate Code, the other half of the conversation, what all of this means for the people whose jobs are being restructured around AI. And that's this episode of AI Unpacked. Until next week, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep it conversational.